Hello everybody, and welcome to this very delayed, sleepy Sunday stream. So, long story very short, the last month or so I've been super busy and then super plagued from going to games conferences and talking and all this stuff, so I've not had a chance to do one of these for a while. But I wanted to get back into it today, kind of ease myself back into doing the Sleepy Sunday streams, and what better way to ease myself back into this than playing quite a complicated, in-depth, Zack-like game called Signal State. So I played the demo of this a couple of years ago, and it's a Zachtronics game all based on kind of modular synthesis and plugging cables in and sending signals, kind of input signals to output signals. If you've played any Zachtronic games, you will sort of know that secretly all Zachtronic games are about having input signals, doing different outputs no matter how they're dressed up. But this is very direct, right? We literally say, I want this output to go into here, these little cables. And I love synthesis, I love playing around with synth gear and software and hardware, so I really enjoy the core premise of this, that we're doing that, but for fixing hardware. I have a vague inkling that it's sort of a post-apocalyptic agra-punk sort of setting, but I can't remember anything about it really. So let's get going, I guess. Oh, hello Scotty. Thank you for the sub. I mean, now let's be honest, I haven't fully survived the plague yet, but yeah. I will say, apparently in the second anniversary they introduced a sandbox mode, and apparently this has extra piece types in it, including stuff like step sequences and like sample and hold stuff and things. So this is literally them going, oh, by the way, we've made a full-on synth. So if I press play, yeah, we're not going to get to this level of complexity, but that's ridiculous. They've actually put on full-on step sequences, low-frequency oscillators, LED matrices. Wow, this is... Yeah, so when they said it was inspired by modular synthesis, they weren't kidding about. They've actually got synth voice out here. Oh my goodness, all these knobs do stuff that I don't fully understand, even with proper synthesizers. Anyway, let's get going in a slightly simpler level that hopefully we might be able to understand by going to new game. Our machines stopped working years ago. Not just ours, everyone's. Our computers, our appliances, everything. No one knows why. Entire cities ground to a halt. It will have been capitalism. It's always capitalism. I wasn't even born when it happened. All I can remember were the distant, dark cities hidden in smog. So here we are. Oh, walking along a gravel path and building everything from scratch. Putting the pieces in the right places. Giorgio will be most pleased. He would be. I heard that he would have taken a click and put the click onto the 8-track and then made a Daft Punk song. My radio crackles to life. You should be nearly there. Do you see it? No, not yet. Random lady. Oh, and apparently I'm also faceless. Cool. Hold on. Yeah, I think I do. Oh. Well, that's the dead city in the background, and we've got a lovely, disused farm to play in. That's nice. I don't know what this is, but I want to make it work again. It looks cute. Wow, it's in quite a state. That's where, I guess, we come in. That farm's your home now, and it needs some fixing. Guess I should settle down and get started. Yes, you're going to be alone for now, but hopefully not for long. No, you can leave me alone for a while, that's fine. I'd quite like to get out of the city and just be on a quiet farm for a bit. Go forth, rebuild. Oh no, you could say a signal state. Rim shot, sad trombone. But there you go, Mike. It is in The signal state. Ah, hello Zach-like video game. I recognise this, where you have your story bits in between doing little puzzles. This music even sounds very Zach-like, actually. Anyway, oh, it's Miriam. Hello, Miriam. It's me, Miriam. You need a better catchphrase. It doesn't work as well with Miriam as it does with Mario. Are we all settled in? Yes, but I'm still not sure why I'm here. Please give me some plot. Our scouts found the farm you're at right now some weeks ago, so we sent you out. As you can see, it's in a state of disrepair, and you need to get it back up and running again. With it running, we'll have 2 farms. We'll have more food, more space for our community. How do I do that? How do I do farms? I don't know how to do farms. All the machines on the farm are going to need to have their internal electronics rewired. That's your job now. We sent you out with your own personal modular rewiring system. Ah, the old MRS. With it, you can design circuits that will emulate the behaviour of the broken components within the machines. You're going to hack and repair these machines so that we can get this farm up and running again. With it, we can produce more food and support more people. I mean, I'm going to regret asking this, but how does the rewiring work? It's easier if I show it to you. We'll have to recalibrate your system anyway. So the sooner we begin, the sooner you'll understand how it works. Well, that's a bold claim, Miriam. You're assuming I'm ever going to understand how this works, but sure. I will be your sentient silhouette today. That is true. With my backlit rim lighting, I truly am a silhouette. Details. Ah, yes. Here is where the Zach games live. Zach likes live. With our histograms that will make me sad and feeling invalid and insufficient in this world. This is a diagnostic test to verify that the signal pipeline works. Connect source 1 directly to both out 1 and out 2. Okay. This is your job. I mean, it isn't, but okay. This is your job. Rewire the circuits to repair the machine. Start with the given source, circ signals, transform them to the out sockets. The brief describes your objectives. For this circuit, you have to send the source 1 signal to both out 1 and out 2 signals. Yeah. Use modules to transform signals, connect them with cables, click and drag on sockets to create cables. White sockets are input, black sockets are outputs. Inputs can only be connected to outputs. If only that was true with real synth hardware. With real synth hardware, you can occasionally accidentally connect the wrong wires and blow stuff up. It's really bad. Or sometimes you're like, oh, I have a stereo signal, I need it to go into mono signal, and it's coming out at 5 volts and needs to go in at 3 volts, and oh god, my brain. Why would I drag from the input to the output? No, no, Miriam, that's wrong. I drag from here to here, not the other way around. Come on. Ooh, wibbly cables. A split takes in 1 input signal and duplicates it to multiple output signals. Okay then. Connect the split outputs to the out sockets. I mean, sure. Press play to begin signal playback and verify your solution. Oh yeah, hello. Hello, very Zachtronics. Okay. So we have time steps. Each time step, this shows you the value that's coming in, this shows you the value that's coming out. And we have an expected set of outputs. And then the leaderboards make me look sad and bad. Although I guess in this one, everyone gets exactly the same score. So that's fine. Excellent, your system works perfectly. You're ready to begin. So what now? Start cataloguing the machine on site. Start with the simpler ones. I'm not sure if I can do this, Miriam. Man, I am accurately worried in this game's lore. Always start with the specs, read them carefully, understand the problem, look up the tools you have available, and learn what they're capable of. Soon you'll start to see certain patterns repeat themselves. If you're ever stuck, you can always ask me for help. I'll do my best, and I'm sorry about that. How do you pump up the jam? I haven't got the step sequencer yet. I'll have to work up to pump up the jam. Oh look, we've got a nice little office. And apparently all of our machines stopped working, but we've still got extension cords, so that's nice. And boxes and packing tape. So it's not all that bad. Ah. Oh. Hey. Oh no, I've accidentally made more story happen. So what's the end game here? Why are we repairing this farm? We already have enough. We already have our current one, and it's giving us enough food. Well, we'll have surplus food and more space for community for one, but I think we can do more than that. More? It's too early, I think, to talk about that at this juncture. Not everyone here agrees with me on this plan. Not yet, at least. Miriam, are you a rebel? Are you gonna do crimes? Do we still have crimes? If civilization doesn't exist anymore, are there still crimes, and are you gonna do them, Miriam? These are things I wish to know. Not even a hint? For the past few years, we have subsisted just fine, but is that all we can do as a community? What are you talking about? I'm talking about rebirth, about rebuilding. It's not enough to survive. That's all I'll say for now. Okay. Let's make capitalism again, because that worked so well last time. Let's go make a power generator. That looks like Ilias Agritech generator should be easy enough to rewire. Fine, tell me the law, come on. They're a corporation from the old world, probably the biggest manufacturer of agricultural equipment. Rare is the farm without Ilias Agritech machinery. That's very poetic of you, Miriam. Okay, so we have to send Sus 1 to Out 1, but with the signal intensity tripled. To roll out the human cloning, we'll have to definitely get our power going. Ooh. What an entirely pointless feature that pleases me more than it should. That we can color code our wires. Let's have them all be teal for now. Okay, a split takes in one input and duplicates it 4 outputs. We've used that before. A sum takes in up to 4 inputs and sums them to 1 output. Use that. Yeah, no, I could have figured that out. Shush, go away. Oh, ooh. Oh, I can actually move you around. Okay, fun. So yes, if we can see down here, in the first time step we get 10 and we need to make it 30. So if we can duplicate this signal, if we just take 3 duplications of that signal, this output should then be triple the value of this input. Because in the first time step, 10 will come in here. These 3 will all output 10. We then add up those 3 10s, which should give us 30. Maybe. Yeah, we can do like step-by-step debugging and stuff. Can we put breakpoints in? Record GIF. Hints, delete modules, lock modules. Oh, delete modules. Delete cables. Okay. Play. Oh, that's nice. It puts the values on here so you can figure out what's going on. We did a puzzle. And now we see have we done it worse than everybody else. Yes, somehow people have already figured out how to optimize this to be slightly better. Oh. Oh, that's sad. Oh, no. Oh, wait. The cable length counts for the score? Oh, are you kidding me? So So what, you actually want me to do that sort of thing? That actually get me a better score then. Wait, have I just got... Did I just somehow beat the top score? But I'm somehow lower on the leaderboard. Okay, we're not going to pay any attention to these leaderboards because they're going to make me sad and confused. Good job. I suspect you have a lot more LS equipment to deal with on your farm. Okay. Oh. Circuit breaker. Getting the hang of it. I guess so. It's a bit of math, a bit of logic. That's right. That's all these systems are. A little bit of math, a little bit of logic. It's not magic. Having taught both of those, disagree. I'm just impressed human beings ever managed to make stuff this sophisticated. I mean, I am impressed that we ever managed to connect 3 wires to another 3 wires. Well, what we really did was let a bunch of folks design the stuff for us. We didn't understand the machines, but we trusted them. We trusted their makers. And then, what could have possibly gone wrong? You know this part. The machines died without warning. We were left scrambling, trying to figure out what went wrong. It was capitalism. I mean, we will make that mistake again. We always make that mistake again. But no, so you get it. Learn the machines, know them as you know yourself. Next step is the circuit breaker. So out 1 receives source 1 signal, increased by 5 volts. Out 2 receives source 1 signal with its intensity halved. So I guess we have some new bits. The module catalogue shows what modules are available for this circuit. Read the descriptions to understand their behaviours. Click and drag on any module in the module catalogue to add it to the rack. Try it now. Add an attenuator module to the rack. Okay. Click and drag on existing modules to rearrange them. Drag them away from the rack to delete them. Try it now. Delete the sum module. Okay. Away with you. Some modules have adjustable controls that affects their behaviour. Adjust the bias amount till it reads 10 volts by rotating the knob. Ooh. Knobs can also be adjusted with the scroll wheel or by typing into the numeric display. That's actually a lot easier. Use these buttons to toggle between the module catalogues and the I/O panel. The I/O panel shows the given source signals and the expected out signals. Hover over them to the device. Yeah, no, we've done that. Signals are always limited to a range of minus 100 volts to 100 volts. Try solving this circuit on your own. That's not true in real life. They go to 120 or 240 or some weird other one. Okay, so these are our modules. This is our I/O. Mouse over the waveforms in the I/O panel to see the given. Yeah, okay. You can go away. Let me make that go away. Oh. So what do we have? We have bias, which takes an input and shifts it by a constant offset value. If there is no input, bias outputs the offset value. So if we put 10 into there, 15 will come out. If we don't put anything in, it will just give us that value. Attenuator takes an input and reduces its intensity, inverts it, or both. Then we have splits and sums. So, output 1 receives source 1 signal, increased by 5 volts. So that's pretty easy, right? Because we just split the signal out, put that into here, out into there. So whatever value comes in here will have 5 added to it. So if we press play, yeah, well, source 1's correct, but obviously source 2 isn't. But it makes a sad noise when you get it wrong. Okay. The attenuator controls the amount of attenuation and or inversion. Okay. So I guess if we set that to 50%, that will take the in and output half the value, maybe. That's possibly the meanest thing you've ever said to me, Scott. That I'm will.I.I.am. Does that do what I expect? Okay, so that does what I expect. Out of interest, if I was to do this, what does it do? Yeah, so it flips the polarity of the signal. I think that's probably going to be important later. Go! Why are the different signal output values have little different tones? That's cute. Hooray! Let's not look at that. Excellent, the generator is now able to efficiently route power to whatever systems are in need of it. Time for the next step. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, lights in the farmhouse. Lovely. Time to get the farmhouse lights on. The lighting circuitry is not too complicated. Some voltage levels will have to be altered to prevent blowing the lights out. That's good. It's pretty creepy here at night. Well, you're right to feel cautious. There might be strangers out in the wilds, and they might not have the best of intention. Yeah, yikes, Miriam. That's not what I needed from you right now. I was hoping for a little bit of comfort. Not, you're going to get stabbed by a marauder in your sleep. Not helping, Miriam. Bandits are a thing this far out in the world, so get to work. Not helping. So out 1 is source 1 and source 2 summed together. That should be relatively easy. Out 2 is source 2 subtracted from source 1. Do we get a new module to do that, I guess? Your system contains some functions meant for your convenience. You can change the speed of the signal playback. We've done that already. Cables can be color-coded for organizational purposes. We figured that out already. Right-click on an existing cable to update its color. Oh, that's nice. You can ask me for hints if you are ever stuck. The notepad and oscilloscope modules can be useful for debugging and experimenting. Always remember to read your brief for your objectives. Okay, perfect. We'll just put that over there. What's the oscilloscope do? Ooh, nicely color-coded. So I guess if I put that in there, and then I put that in there, and then I put that in there, and then I put that in there, what does that do? Okay, so I think it just shows the values that get put in. That could be useful, but away with you. So. Probably need a splitter thing, because it looks like we'll almost always need a splitter thing. And we'll need a sum thing. So, because out 1 is source 1 and source 2 summed together. But we only ever have one of those, so we'll probably need 2 splitters, and we'll have source 1 go into there, we'll have source 2 go into there, and we'll try and color code them on different rows to make it a bit clearer. But I suspect the wires are going to get tangled very quickly. So, source 1 is, out 1 is source 1 and source 2 summed together. So we can take that. You were supposed to be blue. Hey. Oh, I see. You change the color, then you right click on it. Okay, I'm with you. So if I put those two together, and then, I don't know, put the out over there into out 1, that give us the correct... Yeah, great. But out 2 is source 2 subtracted from source 1. Ooh, we can invert the value, right? So if I make that minus 100, and what we do is we put out 1 to there, any value that is from source 2 will then be the negative, like inverted one. So if 10 comes into source 2, we'll get minus 10 coming out. Which means then if I sum these two together, we should get source 1 that comes down through here, plus the opposite of source 2, or the inverted of source 2. So we're basically saying it will actually be this minus this, because we've inverted the value. So if we look here, 4 comes in, we invert it to minus 4, we then add 13 to minus 4, we get 9 out, which is 13 minus 4, probably. Oh, this was a choice for where my brain isn't working. Hooray! We have lights. Now we can see when we're getting brutally murdered by a bandit. Oh, wow. With the lights on, you should be able to get work done even at night. Am I expected to work nights as well? No, of course not. I leave that choice up to you. The sooner you get the equipment up and running, though, the sooner we can send people to help you run the place. Okay, I'm not going to work nights. Some of these machines are going to need new modules added to your rewiring system. Oh, let Gordon deliver them to you when the time comes. Who is Gordon? You met him briefly before heading out. No, I didn't, because the narrative didn't start until after I'd already got here. Ugh. Yes, sleeping is not permitted. No sleep, only work. What possibly went wrong with our previous society? Oh, gin. Gin will help. I like that you do get a little picture of your solution. These are going to become incomprehensible very quickly, I suspect. A VCA, a voltage-controlled amplifier? Question mark? Oh. I guess we're meeting Gordon. Hello, Gordon. It's me, Gordon Lee. We met briefly before you departed headquarters. I issued you your modular rewiring system. Yes, it's a pleasure to meet you. I sent a delivery drone over to you with the new modules last night. Did you get it? Yes, you scared the crap out of me. That would scare the crap out of me, especially after I'd just been told about how somebody's going to come stab me up. Ha, I apologise. Just thought you might want the new modules fresh out the workshop. Does the freshness make a difference? Absolutely not. Okay, good to know. What are these new modules? These are voltage-controlled amplifiers. So close. Also known as VCAs. Are you familiar with them? No. Oh god, he really is going to explain it. VCAs control the intensity or amplitude of a signal with another signal. This other signal, the control voltage, or CV... Oh, this is really getting into modular synths. If you've ever bought any synth gear, you will see the acronym CV all over the place. This other signal, the control voltage, or CV, is treated as a percentage value from 0 to 100, and is then multiplied with the signal input at 0%. The input signal is completely muted at 100%, the input signal is sent through unchanged. Any percentage in between, the input signal has a reduced value. Basically, think of the VCA like a faucet that controls water flow, except you control the water flow with another water flow. I'm just going to say I understand it because I actually know what they are, and your explanation made it worse, Gordon. I'll get started then, just so Gordon doesn't give us any more help. Will.I.am didn't make such classics as that one with Mick Jagger in a purple fur coat by sleeping, you know. That's true, he didn't. He actually made them by getting embarrassed by Tom Jones on The Voice. So, you know. What do we have to do in this one? At each time step, out 1 receives a specific percentage of source 1 signal. The percentage value is specified by source 2. Okay, so if we have an input of 35 and a source of 80, what we want to do is we want to take 80% of 35, I guess. Are there any that are actually easy to calculate? Yeah, so here we go. So in this case, we have minus 70, source 2 is 100, so we want to send 100% of minus 70, which is minus 70. Cool. I think I get that. Yeah, we're not messing about. We can't use anything here apart from the VCA and the oscilloscope. But yes, control voltages are how all modular synths work as far as I understand. Like, even the note is just a value between like 0 and 5 volts, I think, normally. So like 5 volts is a really high note and 0 is a really low note, and then it kind of quantizes between those. And then you have like control voltages for the gate. So if it goes over a certain amount, the note turns on. If it goes under a certain amount, the note turns on. And I strongly suspect we're going to end up there at some point. But for this, we should be able to just make this a really tiny, simple system. Because we take source in, source 1 goes into the... Oh, I don't like that colour. Do that again. Thank you. Source 2 is then a modifier. The output just goes into there. Oh, you can actually see how long your cables are down here, so that is actually more efficient than putting it up there. So we'll do that, just because efficiency is the point of these video games. Yeah, so in this step, we're taking 10 in, we're amplifying it by 0%, in other words, we're muting it so 0 comes out. Cool. No idea if anyone else understands that, but I vaguely understand that. We are attenuating signals. Everyone loves the word attenuation. Great job, you're a natural at this. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel that way. That's just the imposter syndrome talking. Okay, video game, if you could stop being quite so real, that would help. Just heard from Gordon, good work. You're well on your way to getting that farm back to its usual glory. Yeah, let's say yes. Basically, we're timesing it by a percentage. That's all that's doing. Gordon's explanation was unhelpful. More lights to jumpstart. The barn lights are a bit more complicated. They have variable intensity controls. For when the horses get grumpy, I guess? More complicated? Not to worry, the VCAs you have should come in handy. Thanks, Gordon. Send source 1 to out 1, but with its intensity boosted by 50%. Send source 1 to out 2, with its intensity boosted by a percentage specified by SRC2. Oh no. Click on any time step on the IO power to add a breakpoint. Try it now. Oh, I was wondering we had breakpoints. Signal playback will pause at each breakpoint, allowing you to visually debug your signal flow. Clicking on the same timestamp will remove the breakpoint. Cool. So if you're not done coding, what this means is if I put a breakpoint like at time step 4 and press play, it'll pause one before the breakpoint. That's a bit odd. Oh yeah, no, but it is giving the outputs at this breakpoint. So basically it allows you to see if you get a value wrong, you can pause the playback there and just figure out what you've done wrong. Okay, we have everything back in our little toolkit. So first things first, send source 1 to out 1, but with its intensity boosted by 50%. So an attenuator only reduces its intensity. We can't like do 150, so we can't boost it directly with the attenuator. So yeah, we can't boost stuff by 50%. I guess we'd have to sum them. So if we take this value and then a value that's 50% of this value and sum them together, that would give us our boosted value. Because the attenuator can only go up to 100%, and the VCA can only go up to 100%. So we can't use either of them like directly to boost things. Okay, first things first, let's split the source 1 signal. Let's do some color coding. And we'll make source 1 go into there. think this said that if there is no output bias, outputs the offset value. But that's not a percentage value, that's just a numerical value. So I think what we probably have to do is then put that in here at 50%, that in there, and output that. So if we now just do a single step, well, that's all zeros, that's not a helpful single step. But in this case, we have 10 going in here, and then we attenuate that 10 by 50%, which gives us 5. We add 10 to 5, so it's now 150%. Yeah, okay. So that source 1 seems to be happy. So we need to do source... Oh, sorry, output 1 is happy. We need to do output 2. So it's the same idea here. Yeah, it's the same idea, but we need to boost it by a percentage specified by this. That's when we have this thing. So let's have another sum. Let's do another set of colours. So effectively, we want to add this value to this value, where this is the source 1 value straight away. This is the whatever it is attenuated value. So if I then put that in there, I think put that in there, that might work. Yeah, okay. So for output 2, we're taking this copied 10 in here, but then taking source 2. Oh, it lights up that ring. That's nice. So in this case, source 2 is saying we want 60% of 10, which is 6. We're then adding that to the 10 we've already got, so it's boosting it by 60%. And if we keep going along, we'll see that's boosting it by 40%, 30%, 20%, etc. So we've got out 2 is being source 1 boosted by the percentage specified by source 2. Oh, this feels like it's going to get brain bendy. Oh, apparently we've just completed the tutorial. Uh-oh. Yeah, this leaderboard is odd that the top ones are... Oh, is it highest? I guess maybe it's higher scores are better, and for some reason I've been assuming that lower scores are better because I am a silly boy. So it's probably just my brain that's odd. But we knew that already. Okay. That is quite the jam. Okay. Great job. If you find any horses, I know where to bring them now. What's a horse? You're kidding, right? I know you were born after the collapse, but horses aren't extinct. No, really, what's a horse? I'm going to have a lie down. I feel old. I await your explanation of what a horse is. I just really aggressively going, tell me what a flipping horse is. Tell me now. Okay. Now we've completely confused someone by asking about horses. What's a firmware programmer about? What is horse? I would really like an option here, just forevermore, number 3, just like, what is a horse, Gordon? Gordon, what's a horse? Before we proceed any further, we need to repair the workshop's firmware programmer, a vital piece of kit for burning firmware on some of your more advanced modules. It's digital and operates with binary signals. The VCA is still useful though, you can use it like a gate. Uh-oh. Like a gate? Like the gate that got opened and meant all the horses left, whatever they are. Remember how VCAs alter the intensity of an input signal based on another signal called the CV? Well, if your CV signal is only ever at 0 volts or 100 volts, then the amplitude of this input signal isn't really changed. Instead, the input signal is either passed through without change or is completely muted. Yeah. Got it. This should be fine. I'm not going to regret ignoring you at all. Source 2 is a binary signal. When it's 100 volts, send source 1 to out 1. Otherwise, send 0 volts to out 1. So this is what I was talking about a little bit with modular synths and gates. So a gate is often used in modular synth for like note on versus note off. I assume that's the same thing this is getting at. So if I put this here and I put this here, you see source 1 goes in there, source 1 comes out of there, source 2 goes in there. And if we look down here, our source 2 signal's binary, so what it means is it's only ever on or off. And because this multiplies it by this percentage, if it's 100%, whatever is in here, so 20 multiplied by 100%, minus 9 multiplied by 100% will give us minus 9. 20 multiplied by 0% will get us 0. So effectively you're using this just to, that's a better score, we remember. We're just using that to say either send the signal through or don't send the signal through. And I assume it's telling us that because we're now going to have to use that quite a lot in upcoming puzzles. There you go, simple enough. The real challenge with using VCAs as gates is in this way is generating the CV signals. You need to generate a signal value that is at 100 volts when you want it, and at 0 volts at any other time, and nothing in between. I can't wait. But also, Gordon, what is horse? You still haven't told me. I await your explanation. Tell me what is horse. Also, when do I get to set up the distillery? I can't work under these conditions without some sort of bootleg distillery. The power regulator on the firmware programmer is a bit more complicated. It's a dual transistor circuit, so you have to check the binary values of 2 different signals. I'm going to regret this, but let's not ask him how we do this. Source 2 and source 3 are binary signals. When they're both at 100 volts, send source 1 to out 1. Otherwise, send 0 volts to out 1. Oh no, we're making AND gates so early. So, these games often end up with you doing what are called logic gates. There's a bunch of different ones. One of the most common ones is an AND gate. So basically, you say if signal 1 and signal 2 are on, the output's on, otherwise the output's off. And you have OR gates where it's if signal 1 or signal 2 is on, the output's on, and so on and so forth. There's a bunch of them. We've already technically done a NOT gate because we can invert the signal. At least a version of a NOT gate. This is an AND gate because we're saying when source 2 and 3 are on, then we want it to be on, otherwise not. Now, I think that's relatively simple with what we've got. Because I think if we just send our signal through 2 VCAs, so currently if we do this, right, it'll just, because this value is technically always 0, nothing ever happens. It's always 0. However, as these are binary signals, they're always 100 or 0. If we then say this is this binary signal and this binary signal, if this is at 0, our signal gets muted here and it doesn't continue. If this is at 100 and this one's 0, our signal gets muted here and doesn't continue. If they're both at 100, our signal will get through. So, for example, if I find a place here, so you can see our signal 97 is going in, it's getting through here because this one's on, it's coming out here, but then it's getting stopped here because this one's off. If then we go to this next place, no, where's the one where they're both on here? You'll see that minus 46 is coming in, they're both on, so it gets all the way through the signal chain. So I suspect that's kind of what it's wanting us to figure out, so we can just use 2 of these to do an AND gate. No doubt there's a much better way of doing that I won't figure out. Clearly there's a much better way of doing this that I've not figured out. Because I took 12 rack space, you can do it with 8. Oh no. Who knows? Still with using 2 modules, that's interesting. So sometimes as well in these games, part of the reason I don't like these kind of histogram sort of things is because sometimes you can't make them better until you get different pieces later on. So I'm just going to say it works. I'm still not sure. That's okay, you can always review these circuits again at any time before moving on to new ones. You can also try designing different solutions to those circuits. I'm never going to make them more optimized or cheaper, I'm sorry. I am kind of curious if I've done what he said, like, if I've done what he would have suggested I do. Oh, he doesn't give any help at all. Fantastic, okay. Logic test. Now that the firmware program is working, we can get the logic modules working and give them a test. What's a logic module? Oh, hey look. We're now just being given those gates explicitly. Or and not. I know what they are. Shush, shush, I'm not going to let you tell me, Gordon. Okay, if source 1 and source 2 are both 100 volts, send 100 volts to out 1, otherwise send 0 volts. So that's an AND gate. If source 1 and or source 2 are at 100 volts, send 100 volts to output 2, otherwise send 0 volts. That's an OR gate, if 1 or 2 is active. If source 1 and source 2 are both 0 volts, send 100 volts to out 3, otherwise send 0 volts. Well, that's a weird one. It's like a 2-input NOT gate. That's weird. NOT gates? Or, hang on. No, okay. It's just asking us to do a combination of things. We still have a normal NOT gate. So logic modules take 1 or 2 inputs, output a binary signal, 0 100 volts depending on the binary state of the input, i.e. are the input signals more than 100 volts, more than 0 volts or not. Okay, so going through these one at a time. We have AND, so this is, oh, I need to copy the inputs. Let's copy the inputs. Let's fail to copy the inputs. So if source 1 and source 2, and all our inputs are binary, we can see down here. If source 1 and source 2 are on, send 100 volts out. So that should now have finished. Here we can see out 1 is fine. So basically, if both of these numbers here are 100, it will output 100. Otherwise, it will always output 0. So there we go. If source 1 and or source 2 are at 100 volts, send 100 volts to out 2. So that is the OR gate. So as before, we can do this one, or this one, this one. And now if we go through this, you'll see if one of them is 100, it outputs 100, no matter which one is 100. If none of them are 100, neither of them are 100, it outputs 0. Also, importantly, if both of them are 100, it still outputs 100. There is a thing called an exclusive OR that I'm certain we'll get to, which is slightly different from an OR, because this would output 0 in this case. But I'm sure we'll get to that one, because it's a very commonly used logic gate. So finally, if source 1 and source 2 are both at 0 volts, send 100 volts to out 3, otherwise send 0 volts to out 3. So whenever we say are both, that normally means you need an AND gate, right? Rather than an OR gate, because it's saying if this and this are at something. But they're both saying they need to be at 0 volts, which is the opposite for what we're doing. However, what we can do is, I think we should be able to use yeah, we should be able to use an AND gate and a NOT gate, basically. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is the best way of doing it or if we should just use a splitter from the output of this. We're just going to do it this way for now. Cable spaghetti. So, what happens here is wrong. Oh, yeah, that is wrong. So here, it's sending out 100, but we wanted it to send out 100 only if they were both 0. So I think what that means is actually... yeah, I think what that means... oh, no. How do I make cable go away? Is that we have to use NOT gates before that? No, sorry, now my brain is actually having to suddenly start working. That's the wrong gate. Not. So now, if this is 100, it'll get flipped. If this is 0, it will get flipped. So basically what will happen is, if this and this is 0, they'll both get flipped to 100. That will then... and them. So hopefully only of the... yeah, let's just press play. Yeah, okay. So if these are both 0, they both go through these NOT gates, get flipped to 100, and then we have the AND gate that says if they're both 100, output 100. If, however, one of them is 100, that gets flipped to 0, and then it fails at the AND gate to be output. So much wiring already. Funking indeed required. Yeah, so we can definitely do it with less rack space apparently. Oh no, don't delete all modules. I don't know how, basically. But how do I? Okay, just play it. So I just want to get to the back to where we were. Oh, remove that breakpoint. Continue. Logic modules are really powerful. You're not just doing basic math now, you can change how signals flow with logic. I think I know what you mean. Out of interest, if I now go back to power regulator, oh no, we still don't have the logic get things in there, so it's not like we unlock something and then we get them back. There must have been a clever way to do that one. And let me out. Okay. Min-max test. So here we are going to need min and max modules. What do these do? What the name suggests, min takes in 2 inputs and outputs the smaller of the 2, max does the opposite, it outputs the bigger. That was admittedly kind of obvious. Yep. Thanks, Gordon. What's a horse? Source 1, source 2, and source 3 are random signals. Out 1 receives the greatest signal value of the 3 source signals. Out 2 receives the smallest. Are they truly random? Do they change every time? They don't. You have lied to me. Okay, new modules. Min and max. This is definitely getting more like coding now. So a min module we take in 2 and we output 1. Max we take in 2 and we output 1. Oh, that's cute. I like how you have the tree growing upwards for max and the tree going down for min. It's nice. So, most obvious way to do this requires some splitters. Then start with source 1. Source 1 will take this output. Then we're going to use red, green, blue. Sorry to any of my colour blind fans for watching this, but there's not very many colour choices for cables. So for the max of these, we'll actually need 2 maxes. Let's put them up here for clarity. And what we'd do is we'd say, I want this to be output the max of these 2. And then we'd compare that to the max of this third one. So that's working. So what happens is we compare the first 2 inputs, 20 and 30. We take the maximum one of those, which is 30. Then we compare it to the basically maximum value of these 2 to the final one. Again, that's 30 versus 30, so it doesn't matter, you can pick either of them. But in this case, we say, what's the max between 40 and minus 10? Well, it's 40. Then we say, what's the max between 40 and 50? Well, it's 50. That's how it works. And we could then easily do the same with 2 mins. We say, compare this one versus this one versus this one. And again, we carry the output through there. Now we're saying, what's the min between 20 and 30? Well, it's 20. Then what's the min between this 20 and this 30? Well, it's still 20. So in this one from before, up here we have 40 versus minus 10. Then you get 40 versus 50. You end up with 50. It's just the inverse down here. You do 40 versus minus 10. The minimum is minus 10. Then minus 10 versus 50. The minimum is minus 10. Nice. And I'm sure there's a much more optimal way of doing that. Because there's always a much more optimal way of doing these things. The question is how much more optimal? Oh. Oh no. Actually, not that much more. There doesn't seem to be an obviously optimal route to do this. That's fine. You got it. Anyway, enough hand-holding. Let's try more complex circuits. Oh no. Oh, come on, where's the enthusiasm? I'll be enthusiastic, Gordon, when you tell me what a horse is. There is no enthusiasm in life without horse. Irrigation system. I trust Gordon has done his job well. You should be decently familiar with how VCAs and logic modules work now. I think so. Good. We can move on to the next step. We need to prepare the crop fields for planting. This will require a functioning irrigation system. Probably also some water. And how do we fix that? First component is the central pump. It provides a very precise rate of flow of water. You'll need to regulate the flow using the given control signals, combining the concepts you've learned so far, VCA, gating, and logic. Okay. When source 2 and source 3 are at 100 volts, send source 1 to out 1. Oh no, if either source 2 or source 3, but not both, are at 100 volts, send the inverse of source 1 to out 1. Oh no. If both source 2 and source 3 are 0 volts, send 0 volts to out 1. Okay. Oh no. Okay. And we have basically all of our things back now. Okay, so I think the thing to think about this is like, you think about the main signal path, right? And the main signal path here is that at the end, we either have source 1 sent just as 54 or as negative of its value. So that means we kind of want because the VCA can't invert. So the only thing that can invert is the attenuator. Okay, I think. Okay. So this is the first one that I've not immediately had an idea how to do it. So it is time to faff and, you know, see if we can solve this puzzle using the medium of jazz. Skibbity boop. So I'm expecting we're going to need 3 splits up here to split source 1, source 2 and source 3, because we're probably going to need them multiple times. We're probably going to need the VCA. We're going to have to use the VCA as a gate, aren't we? Okay, so let's just start with doing one part. When source 1 and source 2 are 100 volts, send source 1 to out 1. So we know that's an AND gate. And we're just going to do our usual starting point of splitting out our 3 source signals. Now, if source 2 and source 3 are 100 volts, if this and this send source 1 to out 1. So in other words, this will then become a gate signal for this. So if we were just to do this, that would solve our condition for the first part, I think. Yeah, you see, it's solving it for some of it. So whenever they're both like that, we're getting the right value. What we're not getting is the inverted version of this. Is there... I wonder if I need 2 signal paths. So in other words, these 2, they get summed. Oh. Because the thing I was thinking initially is if I could put this output through an attenuator and then like modify this value from 100 to minus 100, then I could just put that through there and modify this value. But I don't have anything where I can modify the attenuation value, I don't think. The only thing I can do is multiply that in the VCA, but that can never invert it. It can only ever mute it, go up between 0 or 100%. So I think what I need to do is basically have this signal go through 2 cases, but then have a VCA controlling which one of them is allowed through or neither. So what I could do here is I could say that this one will go in here, this would invert the signal, and then this inverted signal will only be allowed through depending on this gate that we put here. And then we have to figure out how to do this gate. So if either source 1 or source 3, but not both are 100 volts. So this is an XOR gate we have to make, right? Basically, if 1 or 2 is true, then true. If 1 and 2 are true, not true. So I'm now trying to remember my logic modules from university about how you make an XOR gate easily. Now, one thing I am thinking, so we've already done the AND calculation here. So what we could do is we could actually split this AND calculation out. I'm not sure if I want to do that, because my brain said you should do that and then didn't furnish the rest of the information. I guess what we could do is we could do an OR here. So this OR is green and blue. Oh, and then an AND here, but that would also require a NOT here. Okay, bear with me for a second. It might be that. Okay, it is that. Man brain, you did not want to verbalize that. So, what we're doing here, and again, I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but what we're doing here is if we get the... Yeah. So in this case, our control signals are both like 100, which is true. So what we're doing is we are sending these both to this AND gate, which is sending out 100. That is then sending 100 to this thing down here, which is letting our input signal flow through to this sum thing. So the idea is we have two signal paths, one that will do the positive value, one that will do the negative value, and we sum them up at the end. And that just means we're basically just combining the two signals. We don't care about adding. We're either saying, I want it to be this top input or this bottom input, because they are never, I think, going to have both of them in there at the same time because of how we've set it up. No. So in this case, we're getting hundreds in both, which means this signal path is open, but you'll notice this signal path is closed. This signal path is only open if either source 2 or source 3 are on, but not both. The way we've done that is we can already tell whether they're both on. So when they're both on, we split that signal out, we put that through a NOT gate, which becomes 0, and then we use that to modify the output of this OR gate. So if source 2 or source 3 are on, this one says on as well, but if they're both on, we use the output from this AND gate down here, flip it, so it then blocks it, and then this output is what's used down here to block this gate, or this bit of progress. So if I go to this one, you'll see only one of them is on, which means this AND gate is outputting 0, which blocks this signal path down here. But because this is outputting 0, we flip it to 100 down here, or on down here. So this OR gate says it's on. This AND gate is also now saying it's not an AND value. So that then opens up this other signal path that lets them through, which means we then get the inverse because we've used this attenuator up there to do that. Now, this is one of those things that if you've kind of played this a little bit before, sort of makes sense, and if you haven't, is absolutely baffling when it comes to logic gates. But it worked, and I suspect it's not great, but it worked, so I'm taking it. It's not too bad. We used a couple of additional modules. So people have optimized this a little bit to use 2 fewer modules. But I'm not going to do that, basically. Because I learned a long time ago with these Zachtronic games that if I optimize them too much, I play about 3 levels and then I get annoyed and stop. So if it works, I'm just going to move on. Excellent work. Thanks, Miriam. Can you hear the water flowing through the pump? That's the sound of life right there. Technically. Yes, water isn't alive, but all life begins as the potential for life. That sound you hear, that's its potential. And hang up on her. That seems appropriate. Right. Stuff is starting to get more complicated. Irrigation distribution circuit. Now that the pump is working, you need to rebuild the distribution circuit. The circuit takes the water flow and distributes it to the different irrigation channels. I'll get started. Nope. No chat, only work. Source 1 is an input signal. Source 2 and Source 3 are CV signals for two separate VCAs that control the intensity of Source 1. Okay. If Source 1's intensity is higher when controlled by Source 2, send Source 1's controlled... What? If Source 1's intensity is higher when controlled by Source 2, send Source 1 controlled by Source 2 to Out 1. Otherwise, send Source 1 controlled by Source 3 to Out 1. What? No, yeah, what? Okay, let's start with the top part. Source 1 is an input signal. Source 2 and Source 3 are CV signals for two separate VCAs that control the intensity. So we're no longer doing gates. So I think what it's saying is that we need to split everything up as usual. So we'll do red, green, blue. And I guess we need at least two VCAs. Send this out into both of them. And we'll send this into here. This into here. Okay, so in this case it's expecting 28 out. That's an unhelpful thing. So in this case, if we do this, we get 2 and 6. What are you expecting? You're expecting the output to be 6. Oh, has it just written this really confusingly? And what it means is it just wants the maximum of either of these. Yeah, okay, so it just wrote that really confusingly. It's saying that we need to kind of attenuate this input signal by both of these, and then we send the maximum of those out. That felt a lot easier than the last one, which makes me very suspicious. Yeah, so people have done that with fewer modules. Because we don't need two VCAs, do we? What we could do instead, we can simplify this a lot. Actually, do we even need the split? We might not even need the split. Okay, I'm going completely wild now, but I think that would work as well. Oh. Well, it would work if we managed to put that signal in, maybe. It doesn't work. Minus 70, 40, 40. Interesting. Why doesn't it work? Let's see why it doesn't work at this case. So we're expecting an output of minus 7. Oh, is it because whenever there's a minus... That's interesting. Let's just... Yeah, go away for a second. Give me... min. You kept my breakpoint. You've kept my breakpoint. Is it now right then? Yeah, so it gets confused when when the inputs are minus. This little simplification doesn't work. So what I'd have to do if I'm doing it this way around is I'd have to figure out when it's a minus to use a minimum rather than a maximum. The other way around. Okay, let's not fiddle with that because that sounds a more complicated solution. Hello, greeting Scar. I am going to be happy with my previous solution. I'm going to hope that I can go back to my previous solution. Because it worked and it was fine. Did you save it? Oh, nuts. I think it did save it, so that's fine. We had a solution. We'll keep going. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, we could simplify it, but this works. So I'll keep it at that for now. Good work, the irrigation system is nearly up and running. No more conversation, Miriam. Only irrigation. Alright, irrigation controller. This is the last step for the irrigation system. This circuit is the central irrigation controller. It receives the signals from the main pump and the sensors and controls the water flow. Once I'm done here, what next? You are a bad manager, Miriam. Okay, when the signal from source 1 is more than 25, out 1 receives 100 volts. Otherwise, it receives 0 volts. Okay, out 2 checks the value of source 1's signal after it has been decreased by 21 volts. If the signal is still more than 0, out 2 receives 100 volts. Otherwise, it receives source 1 decreased by 25 volts. No. Okay, so when we only have... It's interesting, we only have one input here. So we're definitely going to need to split that. So we're going to be using that a lot. So when the signal from source 1 is more than 25, out 1 receives 100 volts. Which begs the question, if I put a negative value into here, if both inputs are more than 0 volts, 100 volts is output. Otherwise the output is 0 volts. I think we're going to finally need to use this bias thing, because we can put that to like minus 25. The signal is more than 0 volts, this module outputs 0 volts, else it outputs 100 volts. So we can also use like NOT gates to be sneaky. So what I mean by that is if we do this, right, that will give us the inverse of what we want, I believe. Yeah. So we can, if we want to be like sneaky, not sure if this is a good idea or not. basically do 2 NOT gates like this, that will solve output 1. What we're doing here is we're effectively using this to quantize the values to either 0 or 100%. So we have 27 in, we minus 25 from it, so we get 2. We need our output to be 100, so we're then using these 2 to kind of flip it to 0, then 100, to make sure we're only getting 100 or zeros. I'm not convinced that's a good idea. The other way we could do this is we could use an AND gate, which might be a little easier, or fewer pieces. What we'd do in that case is we would say this output and this output go to there, and that might give us the same for fewer. Yeah, that gives us the same for the same output, but for fewer rack elements. So what happens here is we're just making the assumption that as we're minusing 25 for it, we're just using this other input signal as an always on sort of thing. What we really care about is this second one down here. If that is positive, any positive value above 0, it will then quantize up to 100. Otherwise, it will quantize down to 0. It does seem to work for all our cases down there. So now I have to figure out what this second part means. Out2 checks the value of source 1's signal after it's been decreased by 25 volts. If the signal is still more than 0, Out2 receives 100 volts. Otherwise, it receives source 1 decreased by 25 volts. So I think we maybe need a split here, because this is already testing after we've decreased it by 25 volts. So then we can have another bias here. Yeah, my brain is hurting, but I think then we bias this one here. Because if the signal is still more than 0, output receives 100 volts. Otherwise it receives... Okay. So we might need to do our trick from before. Yeah, because this will... Yeah, okay. Give me a second. This one's hurting my brain, but I think maybe I... Oh, sorry, yeah. Quite right, game. I think maybe I understand perhaps how we can do this. I need a VCA to act as a gate, I think. Does that work? Oh. Sometimes? Because we're summing here. So we need to then block this signal. Yeah, okay. So again, this is not this would not be the prettiest way of doing this. But we need to... Not having undo is frustrating, but we need to basically put this signal through into here. This needs to be blocked basically by the inverse of this one. So if we move these both over here and I will explain what I'm gibbering about in a second. Need to split this signal. Either go to there. No, hang on. It's not that signal I need to do. Ah! It's not that signal I need to split. It is this control signal, I think. I've already got enough. No, so that's already split, so I shouldn't need to. We just need to feed it through a knot here. How's that? Absolutely broken now. Okay. Like, literally never correct. Okay, so I have royally stuffed this up. So let's get rid of all of this stuff that I had before. Go back to where we were. Yeah, okay, so output one is always correct. We've got output 1. Now, if the signal is still more than 0, output 1 receives 100, output 2 receives 100 volts, otherwise it receives source 1 decreased by that. So, at this point, we can say, yeah. So again, what we need here, I think, is 2 different signal paths. We need one that will either feed in this value, or it will feed in the value of the other bit. So we do this, and we remember to finish our cabling. This will be right at some points, but not correct when we're not doing this final bit here. We don't just want to put that straight into here. We need some form of gating on it so it only happens at the right time, because otherwise we're always getting that value. Whenever we want to do a gating thing, we use a VCA. So what we want to do here is feed this output through here into this sum only when we need, only when it's not being blocked. Now, if this is still more than 0, so that should be blocking that. So if we go to like this case here, yes, that's blocking that. So what we need to do then is we need to do the second signal path, which is taking this source, deducting it by 25. We can do a bias thing. And then what we can say is we always want this signal path to calculate. But again, we then want another VCA that blocks this signal path at some points into there. This signal path is blocked. If the signal is still more than 0, it receives 100%, 100 volts. So if that's true, yeah, so maybe I just did the knots the wrong way around last time and I got confused. Yeah, I did the knots the wrong way around and got myself really confused. So what's happening here is when it's, less than 25 volts, we're going down here, we're minusing 25 for it to get 62, but we've already calculated when's it more than 25 volts up here. So we're basically sending 0 here that's getting sent all over the place and reused, but here we're flipping it, using that as a CV to open this one. Then if we go down a couple of steps, now the value is above 25, so this one's getting blocked and this signal's getting through, so when they get summed up, we're getting the correct values for signal 2. Oh, this is tickling. This is tickling my brain parts. And then we do the usual shame where we say, hey, how much worse am I than most people? A lot worse than most people. Oh yeah, we don't need another bias thing, because we're already calculating that value there. Oh, now, you see, my brain is wanting to optimize again. But there is potentially a small optimization we can do. We put another split here. I think we've saved one module there. No, we didn't save any modules. We saved some rack space. I'm just going to go continue. Otherwise, I'm going to sit here and optimize those things forever. Things are starting to come together. What's the next step then, Miriam? Oh no. Are you sending me the really sinister specs of whatever you want me to build now? Ugh. Public radio, the most sinister of things. For the next step, I'm going to need you to calibrate the farm's radio broadcast system. Why, Miriam? You're going to need it for communications. To communicate with who? I can already talk to you. That does not instill trust, Miriam. If you're not willing to answer a basic question, I really am starting to suspect you are not the good person in this. Alright, source 1 is a random signal with occasional voltage spikes. Voltage spikes are always at least 75 volts. Send signal 1 to out 1 with the voltage spikes filtered out. At time steps with voltage spikes, send 0 volts instead. Okay. So we've got basically, this is kind of a really classic electronic engineering thing. We've got a noisy signal. We're kind of just deleting the really noisy spikes in it here. Okay. Okay. So we've got one source coming in, which means we'll need to split that. And I think we probably just want to send our signal straight through a VCA, a voltage controlled amplifier, because either we just want the source out or we want it 0. So basically then what we need to do is either send 100 to say pass the signal through here, or 0 to block the signal. That means what we need to do is we need to basically take 75, or we need to figure out if it's 75 or over, what to send to the control voltage in here, what to send to the CV. So what we can do, I suppose, is take our bias thing from before, put it in there, do minus 75. And then can we do that same trick that we did before? Do that. Well, I mean, that's almost the exact opposite of what we want. In fact, I think it might be the exact opposite of what we want. If that's the case, that should mean, make this even simpler and just do that. Yeah. So what we're doing here, again, the difficulty on this seems a bit patchy, I have to say. But I'm really to be fair, I'm really enjoying it. You can tell when I'm going quiet, that's when I'm enjoying it. What we're doing here is we're taking our 9 volt input signal, we're passing it through the VCA, and we're getting 9 out. The important part is what we're doing up here. We're saying, like, is 9 minus 75 greater than 0? Because if it's 0 or less than 0, our NOT gate will always output 100. If it's 1 or greater, it will output 0. So in this case, we're getting minus 66 is less than 0, so it's flipping that to 100, because it's just assuming this is a 0 signal. The next one, we're doing 91 minus 75, 16. That's greater than 0, so NOT puts 0, so we're then using that to block the signal. So whenever this is 0, it's stopping the signal flowing. Whenever it's 100, it just lets the signal through without any alteration. And it plays a lovely tune. Apparently we're finished Act 1 according to the achievements. It feels like we probably did it better than before, yeah. We've done that with 10 rack space. What? What? They must have used something else rather than a VCA. I'm not going to bite. I'm just going to change the speed down a little bit and listen to the nice radio signal. Miriam, with all due respect, this is a terrible idea. We're just going to attract trouble. Oh, Miriam, I knew you were a problem. What's going on? Do you think everyone out there just wants to hurt us? That's oddly cynical of you, Gordon. I'm being realistic. We've managed to survive this far because of our discretion. This is dangerous. What are you talking about? Also, what is a horse? You've still not told me what a horse is. That's the point. All we've done is survive. We need to do more than that. We need to thrive. I can't believe this. He'll come around. Yeah, what is going on? Stop saying you're going to explain in a bit and explain now. Especially when you're implying someone's going to come stab me in the face in this creepy farmhouse that I've only just turned the lights on in. Ooh. Optionals. That's interesting. We have a radio clocking system and some optional circuits. What are these optional circuits about? While you're working on the broadcast system, you could improve the amplification circuit. This one is optional, strictly speaking, but it could make the signal clearer. Will you explain to me what the argument is about now? Fine, don't tell me. Distribute the signals from source 1 to out 1 and out 2. If source 1 is less than or equal to 40 volts, then out 1 receives signal 1 and out 2 receives signal 0 volts. If source 1 is more than 40 volts, then out 1 receives 40 volts and out 2 receives source 1 minus 40 volts. Oh, I'm going to regret this. Yeah, I don't find the dialogue repulsive, greeting Scar, but I do find it a little bit well, I wouldn't say in this game in particular, but I think Zachtronic games in general have a problem with story, that you have this kind of real disconnect between the story and the actual stuff you're doing. I've said recently to other people that I think the game that I think did it best was Exapunks, because you're literally in that have levels that are really, really linked to the story. Like you're hacking your own body and you're trying to fix the, like, rewire your own body to fix the phage that's taking over you. And I thought that was really good. This has that same typical thing that the dialogue and what you're doing aren't super strictly linked. I don't mind that super much. Honestly, as long as the kind of core gameplay is actually fun, the thing you're doing. And I am quite enjoying figuring out these little puzzles. They're kind of, at this stage at least, bite-sized enough for me to get my head mostly round. I always have a problem with every Zach-like, that at some point my brain just goes, no, we're done. So I'll be interested to see how far I get into this until that happens. Let's do this amplification circuit, maybe. So distribute the signals from source 1 to out 1 and out 2. Okay. That's a nice touch, by the way, that it actually highlights the stuff down there. That is good UI UX. Well done, developers. If source 1 is less than or equal to 40 volts, then output 1 receives source 1 and out 2 receives 0 volts. If source 1 is more than 40 volts, then out 1 receives 40 volts and out 2 receives source 1 minus 40 volts. Okay, I'm not sure I understand this yet, so let's start faffing with it. Oh yeah, we only have one input, yeah. Source 1 is less than or equal to 40 volts. Let's just do that first part first. So we probably need this bias to test against 40 volts. Source 1 is less than or equal to 40 volts, then output 1 receives source 1 and output 2 receives 0 volts. Then we'll probably need a VCA. Yeah, okay, so that's working for that case, I think. Then what we would need to do source 2 correctly is we need to split that output. One goes into there, one goes straight to there. Well, I mean, that's not right at all, brain. You've done that completely wrong. Oh, no, not you. I wanted to just delete the wire, thank you. So they need to get flipped, I guess. So then we need... Again, we're not going for efficiency here. Just going for functional. And honestly, we're barely going for that. It seems like a bad idea what I'm doing there. I'm just going to remove that for now. Come back to that when we've done the second part. So, second part, if source 1 is more than 40 volts, out 1 receives 40 volts and out 2 receives that. So, we're going to need, I think, to do this sum trick we've used before. One sum for each of the outputs and do this. So, in this case, that can just go to there and that will work as before. Yeah, okay. So, if source 1 is more than 40 volts, so if it's the opposite of this, so we're probably going to need another VCA, then out 1 receives 40 volts and out 2 receives source 1 minus 40 volts. Do that all before this. So we already have this, so we can reuse this actually, yes. So maybe overcomplicating this because of how it's written. That's already source 1 minus 40 volts there. We put that into there, we put that into there. We flip this one and use that as the control voltage. How does that look? Okay. Okay, so that is now working for output 2, not for output 1. Because the other case of this is it needs to receive 40 volts, so we need, I guess, something that's just generating 40 volts. Yeah, then if we... Oh, this is definitely an inefficient way of doing this. But if we then do that... We have a CV here. That's the wrong way round, that one. Yeah, so actually, what we want to do is split this signal up again. Man, this feels like I'm doing this badly. But I'm going to go with it. Yeah, there we go. So, if source 1 is less than... So in this case, we've got less than 40 volts. So we want out 1 to receive source 1. We do that by minusing 40 by it, going through all this nonsense, where we minus 40, then use a NOT gate to open this gate, which allows the original source 1 value of free to go up here and get through to our output. At the same time, we also want to make sure out 2 receives 0 volts, so we use this extra NOT gate to flip it here to block this gate, which blocks anything going for here, which also, I've just realised we can get rid of this sum because we've only got one thing going into that sum. However, if it is more than 40 volts, we want out 1 to receive 40 volts. So we do the negative minusing here, we get our control signal here, and then what we're doing is we're basically blocking this signal path and opening up these 2 signal paths. This top signal path here is just literally we're generating 40 volts, and that will just go through to this something in out 1. And all that does is just pass 40 volts through. There is probably a better way of doing it than that. For source 2, or output 2 even, we've already done the minus 40 here, which is what we want to output in this case. So we split that out here, we put that through this signal path that will go up here, and we use the same gate control to just open or close it that matches to this one, which is why we split this output here so we could use it to control 2 different gates. Now, as I say, we don't need that, so we do that. That saves us a little bit of rack space and component space, probably not a huge amount, but it works, and I will take it works in these puzzles. I really should stop looking. Yeah, well, that's not a great solution then, okay. So, yeah, we could do it with a lot fewer modules, but we're not going to. Hello, Miriam. I think Miriam might not be good. Alright, let's have a look at the min-max redesign. Hey, one of our engineers came up with this design for making spare min and max modules, in case you don't have enough. You'll have to complete the design though, if you have time. Miriam won't explain what's going on, will you? No. Do you agree with her, whatever it is? No, I can't convince her, but she's our leader. It's her call. That is not how leaders work. Build min and max comparators. At each time step, compare S1 and S2, setting the higher of the 2 values to out 1 and the lower of the 2 values to out 2. Okay, and I assume we're not going to have min and max value kind of components to use. No. Okay. So compare S1 and S2, send the higher of the 2 values to out 1 and the lower of the values to out 2. Oh man, how am I going to do that? That's interesting. That's interesting. Just going to assume I'm going to need to split some stuff. Let's start with the splitting stuff. Oh. Yeah, we figured out how to compare stuff a little bit before, right? Because we can use an attenuator to flip stuff around. And then use the sum to do a calculation. Oh, you like this puzzle, do you, Greeting Scar? Cool. I apologise in advance for my solution then. Okay, so if we do this, that then means if we do this, we should, yeah. So we now have a value out of here, which will be negative if source 1 is lower, positive if it's higher. So that's the first step, I guess, of comparing the numbers. See, it feels like I need 4 VCAs. That also feels really inefficient. Because effectively, yeah, so 4 VCAs, we can basically send both of these signals towards a gate and just block one or the other from getting in. And we do that for both of them. So, like, oh. We would, that's a bit neat. Oh, we could do something like this, where, oh, and then we need a sum module in this. Yeah, this technique. I'm not liking this, but it may also be the only way I can think of doing it. But basically what we'd do is we'd put these up, put these up, put these into here and these into here, and then we'd block opposite ones of these. So if this one was on, this one would be off. If this one was on, this would be off. And we'd feed in source 1 and source 2 to both of these. These could be our source 1s, these could be our source 2s, and that would flip which would go out. I can't think of another way of swapping the signals with the components I've got. Like, I don't have something where I can put 2 signals in and get a signal out, because that's what the min-max does. So I'm going to go with this. Just because I can't think of another way of doing it right now. And then we need to figure out the control voltages, and this is already getting quite wiry. Now, the way we figure out the control voltages is by using this, right? So you put this into a NOT gate like we've done before. Now, if source 2 is higher than source 1, we get positive. So we split this value. So the higher of the two values start at 1 and the lower of the two values. So if I effectively want to do that, but I think maybe I've got that the wrong way around. I've got that the wrong way around. Yeah. And then what we do is we use another NOT gate and another splitter. Take this signal, invert it, and pump that one into the other two. That works. I don't think that's an efficient way of doing it, but it does work. I really don't think that's an efficient way of doing it. That seems like a lot of components and a lot of wires. Basically what we're doing is we're saying, right, we take taking source 2, we're attenuating it, like inverting it effectively, so it becomes 32 becomes minus 32, using the sum to do 23, basically source 1 minus source 2. So, in other words, if source 2 is bigger, we'll get a negative number, which we then use this NOT gate to flip, quantize into 0 or 100. So if we get 100 there, source 2 is larger. We're then using a bunch of splits to then say if source 2 is larger, send it to 1, to output 1 through this, because it's saying that if it's larger, this turns on. We use these summations to say either 1 or 2, but we only ever let 1 through. You'll notice these will flip backwards and forwards as the values change. So in other words, if source 1 is bigger, we let the source 1 value, if source 2 is big, we let the source 2 value through up here, and it comes up there. And then we do the opposite here. So we're passing in the source 1 value here, and then we're using the same output that opens the source 2 value up here to open the source 1 value down here. If, however, this is a positive number, we use the NOT gates to then open the opposite ones. We use this extra NOT gate to basically do the flips, the inverses of these ones. So if we get a positive number here, it gets quantized to a 0, which then allows through source 1 up here and source 2 down here. It flips them around. As I say, that feels an inefficient way of doing it. I assume, Greeting Scar, you came up with a more efficient way of doing this? Or did you come up with something vaguely similar? Okay, so it's not, I mean, there's definitely efficiency savings there, especially in rack space. Yeah, that much rack space reduced means they probably weren't using so many VCAs. So did you come up with a similar solution, Greeting Scar, using the VCAs? No, it's fine. I guess I feel like there must be a way not to use 4 VCAs, but I can't think of it right now. But that's fine, it works. So I am going to take the win. Nice work. Sometimes implementing the behavior of a module from scratch really helps you understand the nuances of module. I mean, yeah. All it does is make me really happy that we've got a min and a max module, because they're really useful. All right, how's our time doing? Yeah, I can do a couple more. Right, I suppose you deserve some sort of explanation. Yes. When we sent you out to reclaim the farm, it wasn't just to provide more food and housing for the people we already have. After all, we already have enough. The farm you're reclaiming has a 2nd generation Ellis Agritech solar-powered radio broadcast system. Far more powerful than the ones that we have in our home farm. I want you to use it to send out a broadcast. You only used 2 VCAs in that one. Well done. I cannot for the life of me think about how to do that right now. I know it felt like you could, but I can't think of it in my head right now. I am going to wander that though, as I keep going. Yeah, to who? Everyone in our vicinity, survivors living on their own, distant communities, anyone who needs a home, or even just a friend, announce a location and beckon all who might want to come to join us, or just to trade to come. I want more than just survival. I want for us, all of us, to thrive, to rebuild, to revive our societies. Our cities are civilization, and we can't do that just by farming, eating, and sleeping over and over again. I mean, why does Gordon object to this? I know why Gordon objects to this. Yeah, clearly you'll also attract people who will come and scavenge. Have you never read any post-apocalyptic sci-fi thing at all? There's always raiders. What now? We continue working. The broadcast system's clocking system's broken. Without it, it cannot tune into the right broadcast frequencies. Time to fix it. We've sent you some clock modules. Ooh. Okay, new module. Come on then. Out 1, out 2, and out 3 receive clock signals at different intervals. That's not super explanatory. Clock modules output. Seems you have other modules instead of the VCA, so my total count is actually 11, which is worse than yours. Yeah. So this is the one slightly odd thing I always have with Zach likes as well. The way they score them is always a bit odd, right? So like, I kind of get scoring by cable length in this because, you know, you can say that will make cheaper circuits, but I don't think it matters as a scoring thing. And it's also a bit weird with this that they're scoring on both total modules used and rack space used. And this is always a kind of a slight issue I have with Zachtronics type games, that they'll measure you on, like, you know, processing time and also modules or factories used and also clock cycles. And it's very rare that you can optimize all your outputs at the same time. So it kind of encourages you to optimize the designs 3 or 4 times, which I don't really care about. So it's a bit odd. This one, obviously, they've also got the total score, which I guess helps a little bit. One of them is a splitter that splits one wire into one wire. Hey, I mean, I've clearly done that as well with my summation stuff earlier, so. Alright, anyway. Clock modules output trigger signals at regular specified intervals. These trigger signals can be used to trigger other modules. Okay, cool. Oh, we don't have an input at all. So I guess we're using the clocks. I will say, I like how this game looks. Like all the dials and the wires, they look very... This is clearly made by people who get like modular synths and buttons and knobs, and why you play with these things, because you want the physical, tactile things. Your friend had to use 18. Well, then in which case, I will take it as a win that I am better than somebody else in the world. So, what do we actually want the output? We want... So this output 1... Output 1 outputs every 2, does it? Okay, so the interval means that we have like we output and then we say 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And this one is, so then we need now, nope, duplicate that with for output 2. I think we want that at 3. Yeah, so it's 1, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. These clock, by the way, these are again really common on actual modular synths to output stuff at, say, a certain tempo. You'd set it to like, I want this to be 120 BPM, and you'd use these clock signals to generate CVs, to generate notes and this sort of thing. This one's just the opposite of that one down there. So we need a split and a knot. And we have the red one going in there, going in there, going in there, and then coming out there. There we go. Now the difference in difficulty here will just be because I went off and did the more difficult optional ones. And this is now tutorializing us with a new component that we'll no doubt have to use soon. Nice. Good work. Gordon will send you the next specifications. I expect he wants to share his opinions with you. Oh no. No, I am going to say oh no. Alright. Now, what do I use these clocks for? We never did tell you why Miriam appointed me as lead engineer, did we? Is it relevant? Man, that's cold. I feel we've built up a rapport with you, Gordon. I'm not just gonna throw that much shade at you. No, not really. I'm incredibly familiar with Egris Agrotech equipment, pretty useful when working on farms with their stuff. There's a reason why I know their equipment. I used to work for them in the old world. Really? Yes, these machines you've been working on, I know so much about them because I helped build them. Why did they break? Why did all the machines break all at once? Also, what's a horse? The truth is, I don't know. I wasn't executive level, so maybe these machines have secrets I don't know about. Maybe it was something outside of these machines. It's a mystery to me too. Fine. What is Ellis Agrotech exactly? The biggest manufacturer of agricultural equipment in the old world. There used to be so many companies like it. Then its founder, Eldon Ellis, came along and he swallowed them all. Do you know what he did? Do you know how he did it even? Owned the entire market? How? Ellis's equipment was state-of-the-art, sure, but he priced them accordingly. The farmers couldn't afford it, but if they didn't have his equipment, their crop yields lost out to those that did have them, so Ellis gave them an offer. He'll rent them out the equipment, and in return he got a cut of their revenue. Of course, as time went on, the more equipment he had to loan, the more profits he got. He practically owned them. That's ruthless. That's capitalism. I mean, that's literally just where we currently are with capitalism. Cough Adobe, cough Netflix, cough BMW renting you heated seats. So why did they break? Why did all the machines break all at once? Did we not ask this? We did ask that. Yeah, Miriam's plan. Because Eldon Ellis is still out there and he still has some employees with him, he promised them refuge from the chaos and they stayed. If we broadcast, he will be listening. He's going to try and reclaim what he thinks is his. That means our farms. So what do I do? What Miriam wants, I hope she knows what she's doing. I hope so too. Next step is to fix the memory buffer so we can record a short message and loop it for broadcast, along with the clock modules. We sent some sample and hold modules. These really are just modular synth pieces. Sample and hold is like a very common thing in synthesizers. You can use those as replacement for memory buffer, alright. Also, so basically what we're doing is we're just making a little looper. That's nice. Out1 receives memory buffered signals from source 1. At regular intervals, the memory buffered signal is updated to the latest signal from source 1. Okay. Clock module's output triggers at regular specified intervals. These trigger signals can be used to trigger other modules. Yeah, we know that. Sample and hold modules act as memory, sampling and storing the input value when triggered. The stored value is sent to the output until a different value is sampled. Yeah, cool. Oh, that's cute. So what this is basically saying is if we put a value in here, if we put a value in here, it is interesting. What happens if we just do this? It's constantly sending 0 out. Have I used modular synths a bunch? No, I've not used modular synthesizers a bunch. I am actively avoiding using modular synthesizers because it's such a rabbit hole and a money pit. But I did get into, and I still have a bunch of kind of hardware synthesizer stuff. Like, not expensive, well, I mean, it's relative. It is quite expensive stuff, but it's not like the really high-end stuff. So things like the Arturia Micro Freak, for example, and the circuit tracks, and they kind of introduce you to a bunch of this stuff, but all in a single unit, so you don't have to put the patch cables in like we're doing here, but they often have software patching in them, so you can say like, I want you to route the output of this thing to change the value of this knob, and you kind of do that inside, and it's the same as what you do with the cables here, that it's all just voltages being sent around effectively, that you're saying like, use this voltage to attenuate this other voltage. And this other voltage that it's attenuating might be, for example, like the attack value or the decay value of a synth. So I know a very little bit about it, and I've really enjoyed learning it, but I'm still definitely like very dumb when it comes to synth stuff in general. But I like it. It's interesting. It's like in the game I'm making right now, CRT7, I use a software synth behind the scenes as well, and that's basically doing a similar thing here, but I'm sending MIDI values, so values between 0 and 127, and they might be notes, or they might be kind of pan values, left to right ear, or they might be amount of reverb, or length of reverb. So it's kind of, this does vaguely make sense to how I've been programming and playing with some hardware synths. But yeah, if you get into the actual full-on modular stuff, it is insane, because literally you do have these modules, and you'll buy like a module that will just, like we see here, you'll buy a module that's just like, please output a 5-volt voltage at this speed, and then we'll put that into a sample and hold, and then we'll put that into a note generator, and then after all of that I can get a square wave note that I can pitch up and down. And I've needed like 4 or 5 different modules just to do that. It gets very, very expensive, but the reason people like it is because You can route the signal paths however you like. You can do really complicated, interesting sounds. But man, is it expensive and scares me. Right, anyway. We have a gate input. Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff I use, to be fair, is digital synthesis rather than analog synthesis, because analog stuff's always more expensive. But it's often the same principles. It's just, instead of using voltages directly, you're using like MIDI values behind the scenes. Now, what I want to figure out is, do I need to trigger the gate? Is that what stores the signal? Yes, okay, so each time we send a gate signal, that then stores the value. So now we've stored 23. This will keep sending out 23 until it gets another signal, and then it will store that next value in, and it will keep sending out. So that's what it means. So basically, every time we trigger the gate, we sample, then we hold that value until we sample again. Okay, I mean, I get how that works. I mean, to be fair, Solas was what inspired me to get more into synth, because we had a musician there making really nice synth music, and I was just curious about how it worked. But Solas is all in its own way about sending signals around the place and modifying those signals just in a more abstract way. Okay, so you say at regular intervals, so this is 0. So this 23, 23, 27, 27, minus 30, minus 30. Okay, so we need to set that to 2 by the look of it. Also, it would be really good if we put the output to the output, probably. Yeah. So every 2 beats of this thing, we're sampling the new value, so we get pairs of values. So 23, 23, 27, 27, minus 30, minus 30. Nice, okay. Continue. It's done, the broadcast system is ready. What now? Now I will record our message and you will broadcast it. Are you ready to receive the recording? Begin recording. Hello fellow survivors, I am broadcasting from the abandoned farmstead north of the intersection of Highway I-451 and I-82. We are a community of survivors who have survived this new world through collaboration and cooperation with one another, and we'd like to invite you to join us. If you're out there, a lone wanderer, just scraping by, find us, we have a home for you. Now, it's worth bearing in mind at this point during this broadcast, no one else is at this farmstead apart from me. They're all somewhere else, so she's basically saying, hey, please come, rob us, and stab me up. I'm not there, but my Patsy is there fixing stuff, all alone, in a small farmhouse where we've only just figured out how the lights and irrigation works. Now what, Miriam? We wait. If there's someone listening, they'll find you. Sinister. Yeah, what if it is Agritech or bandits? Then we'll join you over there and help you defend. Do not worry. We'll be there for you if they come. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to worry. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to worry, Miriam. Tractor security system. Well, that's over. Hopefully nothing bad happens from the broadcast. Wow, bleak. Yeah, hopefully. We should get back to repairing this farm. If we do get survivors joining us, we best be prepared. So what's next? Tractors. The vehicles. We need them all to till the fields for planting and for harvesting. We can start with the tractors. Turning them on requires a key code, but we can hack them. Alright, let's go hack a tractor. I'm up for that. Output 1 receives a clock signal with an interval of 6 time steps. Okay. Output 2 receives buffered signals from source 1 at regular intervals of 6 time steps. The buffer signal is updated to be the latest signal from source 1. Okay, that seems easy. Why is that not easy? Why is that hint there? Oh, it only goes up to an interval of 5. That's why it's not easy. Okay. So we can't actually do an interval of 6. Whenever you see a hint like that, if you're a puzzle designer or you've played a lot of puzzle games, that is where you start going like, okay, there's something that's blocking me from doing this the obvious way. Now, as that hint tells us, thankfully, it can be expressed as 3 times 2, which means if we combine these two signals together with an AND gate, we'll only get a tick every 6. Because, you know, this 2-1 will happen at 2, 4, 6, etc. The 3-1 will happen at 3, 6, etc. But because the AND gate will then remove the ones that don't overlap, which is how we get larger numbers using a couple of clocks. Now we also need to sample and hold. That can go up there, that can go in there. You will need to split the output of this. One goes there, one goes there, one goes there, one goes there. So these two clocks and this AND gate are giving us a signal every 6, which we just send straight to output 1. But then the buffered signals from source 1, so at regular intervals of 6 time steps, the buffered signal is updated. So we use a sample and hold, use the same 6 trigger to sample it, and that should then work. Yes, you can see it's only changing value down here every time we get that combined clock signal. Cool. Just because that was distressing me, we're just going to do that and run that again. So it's all nicely tight up against each other. Cool. There we go, tractor's up and running. It had a really bad security system, as it turns out. There's some improvements you can make to it though, if you're up for it. More tractors. Tractor music player, tractor gear system. I mean, I want my tractor to play music. Here's a fun distraction, the tractor has a music player. Love listening to country music while travelling at slightly faster than walking pace. I mean, sure. Yeah, fun. But it's not country music, probably just a small library of corporate approved generic pop, but still better than nothing. Make a drum beat. Oh, hello. Out 1 is a kick drum, out 2 is a hi-hat, out 3 is a snare drum. Okay, so greetings, Scar. This I have done before. Are they doing a... Oh, they're not doing a syncopated beat. That's a shame. But yes, this is very common for when you're step sequencing synths to do this. Okay. So let's have 3 clocks. Output 1 is 1, 2, 3, 4. Output 1 is every 4. Output 2 is a not gated one, because they always start on their first one, so we need to do that and that. Another not gate for this one as well. Oh, no we don't. Oh, that's more complicated then. Well, currently we have... Ah, they've changed the noises. That's pleasing. So you can hear the kick drum going like dish, 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 and then this going. which is quite common. The thing that I really love doing, which I might go and see if I can figure out how to do in the sandbox, is like syncopated beats. Oh no, you're completely right. Actually, they're not too difficult to do with the clocks, because basically all you do is you do one at like the most common one is you do one part of your beat at 3 repeats and one part of your beat at 4 repeats, and you get a really nice, quite complicated sounding rhythm for actually really basically very simple loops. And if you do like 3, 4, and 5, it can be really good. I quite like doing like 2, 3, and 4, so you have like a low on every other one, and then 3 and 4 for like a kick drum and snare, or kick drum and cymbal, and that can sound really good. Yeah, no, I know. I'm just excited about doing drum beats. This is all good. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But so this is at 4, but it's shifted by 2 across. Because if I did this right now, right, would see that we're 2 out of phase. And we don't have a sample and hold, so you can't use that to shift it. Which probably means we need to do some combination of 2 clock signals. Oh, that's very sneaky. It's very sneaky. We have gates, we have splits, we have sums. So you have your little oscilloscope. That 1, 2, that 1, 2. Oh, okay. So let's assume that we need... It's one of those things where there'll be a pattern that you probably have to grok for this to work. So let's for now just assume that we're going to need some combination of these 2. That's not going to work, because we're still offset. If we did like 3, that won't work either. 3 and 4, you'll only get it every 12. It's still not on the right beat. So how do we delay that 4 beat by 2 clocks? By 2 steps? Because we could do something like putting a knot in here. That would help. Because now that just never triggers. If I did this way around. How does that look? Wait, really? Wait, really? Why does that work? I didn't expect that to work. Hello, Joe Plays Puzzle Games. It's good. We're currently making a drum beat for a tractor. Yeah, what? Why did I not expect that to work, Greetings Cigar? Because I didn't think it was going to work, basically. So let me figure out why that worked. So at this point we've got 100. We're flipping that around. But then that'll be 0. So that will then... So that's... Oh, okay. So actually what we're doing is we're using the 4 beats to then filter out every other 2 beat. So that's why that works, because it would be on here, which would filter out that first one. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Yeah, okay. So I see why it works, because of that filtering. Cool. So let's listen to our drum beat. It's not a bad drum beat. Slightly sad that it's at a very different tempo to the background music. Hey, it's got wires and like signals and stuff, Joe. Of course I like it. And you can do it with fewer modules. I don't care. Send me some recordings over when you have the chance. We're in desperate need of more music over here. Sure thing. I mean, the bit that you two wouldn't have seen when I first started is they've actually now got a sandbox mode, and they've added in some additional components that are only in the sandbox mode. And those additional components apparently include things like a step sequencer and like LFOs or low frequency oscillators, which is a very synthy thing, and also LED matrices and like CV sequencers. I don't know if they're in the main thing, but what that means, if you press play here, it's literally just a modular synth at this stage, like a software version of the modular synth. Row 2, randomly generative melodies with the noise module and synth modules. Yeah, they're using this, I guess, to trigger different outputs down here, yeah. And this is like super common. We've also got specific like drum voices and stuff where they've put in Ks, levels, pans, pitches, resonances, and all that stuff. It's very cool. Like, this is nice. Oh yeah, and they're using the CV sequencer to then define things so I could like give it more steps. That's cool. I'm going to stop fiddling with all that stuff, but it's nice. Oh, they've even got a master reverb. More reverb. I am not going to write my next game's music in this game, because I've already got a software synth going in that game, as you well know. That took me a long time to get working behind the scenes and sounding nice. So I'm already doing that, just sort of secretly in my own game. Right. What time is it? I've got time for a couple more puzzles, I think, because I am enjoying this. Oh, now that is a great shout, Greeting Scar. Fract OSC is a fantastic, very underrated game, I think. It has some issues, like I think the environment design is quite confusing sometimes, and it's very easy to fall off stuff into the void forever. But yeah, the fact that you can every different area is like a different part of a synth track, and as you solve puzzles it makes the music and the world come alive. Really, really lovely idea. This tractor was one of the things I worked on at Ellis Agritech back then. The gear switching system was never as efficient as I hoped it would be. Why not? According to Eldon Ellis, it was a good enough and no need further improvements. It didn't have to be the best, it just had to be better than the competitors. We could always make an improved version later and sell it as new and improved. I mean, that's how capitalism works. Like, we know this game. Yeah, it had a good sandbox. I never played with it super much back then, but it was basically just, again, a nice little software synth you could play with. Out 1 is an alternating signal of constant frequency. Out 2 alternates between 2 clock signals with different frequencies, 2 and 3 time steps. Which clock signal to send out 2 is decided by out 1. Or okay. Out 1 is an alternating signal of constant frequency. Out 2. Okay, so it needs to be on for 4 and then off for 4. Do I have sample and hold modules back? Hello. Right. Right. We have no inputs, so we're generating all of our signals. Yeah, we have to generate all of our signals from what we've got, probably with combinations of clock signals. Yeah, the game was good at teaching you how to use the different elements, I agree. FractOSC. And so is this. I mean, this is basically teaching you how different modular synth elements work as we go along. So we're obviously going to need some clocks as some inputs. Let's just do something really dumb to start off with. Yeah, not quite working. Let's get back to this and try and figure this out. So, I think we want to try and sort out the first output line before we try and figure out the second output line. Because the second output line, I think, is basically decided by the first one. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to tackle the bottom one yet. But we want this on for 4 time steps, then off for 4 time steps, then on for 4 time steps. So I don't think just doing that would work. It's always going to be on. So whenever it samples it, it's always going to sample it when it's at 100. What things do we have here? We still don't have our min and max things back. That's sad. We have a VCA. We have a clock. We have a sample and hold. We have or and not, and our sums and splits. That works when the ons and offs are an odd number, but they're an even number. So it's causing us some problems. Oh, Co-Prime is some fancy chat going, some fancy information in the chat there. And that gives us a much different pattern where we switch on and off unhelpfully. This is another pattern again. I mean, it's impressive how many different kind of on-off patterns you can get. Very few components. Impressive, but unhelpful at the current time. It feels like we do have to sample something every 4 ticks. So then what is then the frequency of what we sample? That is then the bit that is challenging my brain. Can I stretch something out? Can I stretch it out somehow is the other option, I guess. Because effectively this is just a 2-step thing, but we're stretching it out. But I don't know how to do that stretch. It's kind of what I was trying to use the sample and hold for, but it's not working. It's okay. So it's got the out 2 alternates between 2 clock signals, different frequencies, 2 and 3. Is that supposed to be a hint? I mean, if so, not a successful hint for me at least. Oh, I am totally stuck on this one. Okay. No, Joe. Well, you start with some of the modules placed. You normally start with your source and your output, and then sometimes a little texty one up here to give you some hints. And then you have all these different modules that you can put on from the bottom that we've been learning about. So we've previously learnt about splits, and that just takes what we normally would have an input signal. We don't. Basically, this allows us to take a single signal, split it out into multiples. We then have sums, which kind of would sum up the values. Like this would be unhelpful because we can't go above 100. We have clocks, and these output what's called a control voltage, either 0 or 100, and it will basically, every 5 ticks, it will output 100 in this case. So it will do like, if we press play, do like 100 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We then have VCAs. VCAs are yeah, exactly. That's what was making the previous one difficult, because we didn't want it on the first tick. VCAs are a bit weird. They take the input signal and then they modify the output signal. If you put a 0 into here, it will just mute it. If you put 100, it will let it through. So they can either be used as gates to let the values through or not. But if you put a value between 0 and 100, it's like a percentage modifier. So if you put in 70 in here, 50 into here, you get 35 out. We then have your classic like OR, ANDs, and NOT gates. Well, it kind of, but not really. It's called like attenuation technically, which is, as Greeting Scar says, it's kind of closer to multiplication. If you assume that your 0 to 100 is 0 to 1, yeah. Yeah, so you have your AND, or ANDs and NOTs, and then sample and hold, where you put a signal into the in, and every time the gate is triggered, it will store that signal and just keep outputting that signal until the gate is triggered again to update the stored value. And the clock signal can only go up to an interval of 5. So, for example, if you want to do, you saw this earlier, I think you might have been before you came, but if you, for example, wanted to do a clock signal of 6, what you have to do is 2 times 3 effectively. So if we do, where are we? An AND gate, and we AND these, oh, fine, and we AND these together, then you get an output of every 6. Yeah, how to solve the puzzle is the bit that I am stuck on, yes. Chat has an idea. Scary. Well, give me another couple of minutes, and then I'll probably ask for the idea, because this one I'm struggling with even getting started with it. Oh, chat no longer has an idea. Chat's idea did not last long. It feels like I have to sample some value every 4, but then that value has to be going on and off every 4. That means I don't need the sample and hold. Unless. Yeah. I mean, I love that your idea, you remember the idea that you tried not working, but you can't necessarily remember the idea. What if we do a tick every 8? What if we do a tick every 8? We feed that tick into the sample and hold, and we sample it every 4. Well, again, oh god, that doesn't work because that doesn't work because of the way multiplication works. We're still just getting every 4. Give me a second, Joe, because I am now thinking about this. How do I get 8? It should be possible. He says, not necessarily figuring out how it's possible. I've got VCAs. They wouldn't have given me VCAs back unless I needed them. Sadly bin all of that. I think if I can generate a signal every 8, that will let me do what I want to do. But then it's how do I generate the signal only every 8? The max of this is 5. Okay, Joe, what's your idea? Well, I keep trying to think. If I could generate a signal every 8, I could solve it. That's the bit I'm trying to solve, is how to generate the signal every 8. So I'm glad clearly we're thinking along the same lines. This explains a lot of when we do our bonus buddy streams and we get stuck, doesn't it? I kind of want this to then increment something. I don't really have the way of incrementing stuff right now. Do we? We don't even have any of the bias or the other things, so we can't generate a constant signal either. So we don't have the ones that just output a value constantly. The closest we can do is every other tick. So if we did like this. This constantly generates 100. That is not helpful. It feels like it should be so easy to do that repeating pattern. Why is it not? Oh. No, you can't do... Oh, wait, you can do loops. Okay, I thought I said you couldn't earlier. Well, yes, apparently you can direct an output of a module to its own input. Oh, no, that leads to, like, latching circuits, doesn't it? Oh, God, you're right. Oh God, no, I have to... You can make latches with... You can make latches with logic gates, and I can never remember how. Okay. So I think the way you start is by using... You need an OR gate, from what I remember, to latch on. Oh man, oh, I don't have to do latching. It's really complicated, and I always forget where you have to send the signals to turn it on and off. Sample and hold. Well, yeah. I don't know. Okay, let's try and figure out how we do a latch, right? Because I think the basic latch is we need to split the output, right? Because otherwise we can't get the output out anywhere. And then what we'd do is we just do a basic latch would be like this, right? We turn it on, and then because we're routing its output signal back around through it, it now stays on. But that's a latched gate that we can't turn off. And that's the bit I need to remember how we do, is how we then turn the latching gate off. And that's where you need more stuff. I think that more stuff comes in this return bit. I seem to remember you need an AND and you need an XOR in there somewhere, I'm sure. I'm not... Viewers, I'm not sure. I'm making this up as I go along. I need to remember anything. These aren't that similar to real gates. So now that's just always on. That's unhelpful. Well, I think it's time to press this button. I need a hint. Nope, I know that bit, Miriam. I know that bit, Miriam. So that's implying that we do need a sample and hold to store the clock pulse in memory for out 1. I need another hint. You sample and hold mod to store the clock pulse as an emitter over multiple time steps. That's the same thing. Use logic modules to toggle between clock signals of different intervals. I would love a hint from chat, greeting Scar, because those hints were unhelpful. Yeah, Joe, what's the solution? Come on, give it to us. Yeah, no, I mean, also once we've got a clock of 8, we could use the sample and hold, and we just use the gate sampler. So yeah, anyway, yeah. Once we've got a clock of 8, I think it's solvable. The bit I can't figure out is how to get the clock of 8, because our trick of multiplying like 3 by 2 only works because they're offset. So they only come together every 6. So when I was trying to multiply 4 and 2, that doesn't work because they actually come together every 4. Because they're both even numbers, which causes us some issues. Obviously that never... Oh, hang on. Am I being dumb? Yes, I'm being dumb. Only 1 clock value and only 1 logic module. Ooh. Interesting. Well, let's try that then. Yeah, okay. That's an interesting tip. Thank you. I will ponder. I'm going to ponder with a chocolate in my mouth. I do like that it lets you do that, even though that is obviously completely meaningless. That will just basically lock it on. It's what we had before. No, not a sample node. Clock and sampling hold are 2 of those elements that will be crucial. Yeah. There's obviously some trick here I'm not getting. So let's, just for my own sanity, let's try splitting that clock force signal. Because at some point that has to go into the gate, right? Because we're changing something every 4th step. So I feel like that has to go into the gate at some point somehow. think that will do anything, but let's try it. That's just always on. You have Rot 13, my idea. Go on, Greeting Scar, give me a more directed hint. And or, like, give me, like, a little bit of your solution, I guess, at this stage. I'm clearly not going to get this otherwise today. I mean, you can also suggest your idea, Joe. I'm happy to try and build them both, and then judge. Actually, you mustn't have states it cannot get out of. Yeah, I think I get that. It's just the actual, like, general. Yeah. It's the general kind of core principle I'm clearly not grokking at this stage. So feel free to be quite overt with your suggestion. And feel free to put your non-rotted suggestion in the chat, Joe, as well. With the input for the gate and the sample and hold, you do it like this, and then think about how the output of the sample and hold could be used to change the input to 0. So yeah, that will just always, that will always be 100. If we plug that into there. Yeah, but if the output's always 100, it won't help when you loop it back round. I don't think. What was your solution to the fix? Or Greeting Skull, what was your suggestion? Well, no, that's why I'm saying, like, please give me a more directed initial nudge. Okay, we don't have an XOR gate though, so how do you build an XOR, Joe? If that's your suggestion. Yeah, me too. That's why I asked you how to do it. Some load output is useful in more than one way. It sounds like you're getting to the same stage, the same state as the same idea as Joe, but let's try and do the XOR gate. Ugh. Oh god, yeah, from what I remember with XORs, it's kind of annoying. So you have to do and, you have to like do an OR. Yeah, XORs are annoying. I think you have to do the OR, and then you also have to do the AND. And you have to not the AND, then you have to AND these two outputs together. I think that's then an XOR? Question mark. We're being told we don't need these, but that's fine. I'm going to see if this XOR works now, because I am curious. Oh, wait, yeah. Because this is already super gross. Oh, cool, I've created an infinite loop now. That's fun. Oh, good. I'm so glad we've discovered the problem. I mean, I'm not even 100% sure if that's how you make a correct XOR, because it's been a long time. Oh, yeah, still an infinite loop, Joe. Right, well, let's do that. The first output does not need any or ANDs or VCA modules. So, that sounds like we need a NOT. That's what I'm going to take from that. As you said, we need the clock and one additional thing. One additional logic. I mean, that's true. So then, yeah, if I do this, there we go. We get to the infinite loop state, but a lot quicker. With many fewer pieces. So what's going on here? We're putting 4 in here. We're gating this, so we're then sampling. We'd then be sampling, well, that's more complicated. So getting here, be sampling something which would be going out here, coming back in here as a knot, knotted back through. would then invert this, which would go back through here, which would then change that. Yeah, so I guess that's where the infinite loop's happening. This will keep flipping backwards and forwards. It's unstable. And this one is hard. This one is hard, yeah. I just absolutely am not getting my head around how to do this one. I mean, you say I've got some volition. I'm not convinced I do. I'm not convinced I do today. It's one of those ones that I feel like if I wasn't on stream, I'd go away from a couple of days and come back and it might click. But it's not clicking immediately. Joe, do you have some volition now? Because otherwise what I might do is I might put this one on ice for now and then go and try the actual next critical path one to see if I can solve that one instead and get my brain doing something. Because right now it's just looking at this going, oh. So, yep, I'm going to go do that. Chat has decided it is too hard. Good. Let's do drones. We've been doing good work so far, ignoring that small lapse. Most of the basic systems are up and running. From here, things will start to get more complicated. Hooray! We'll start with the harvester drones, one of the more sophisticated Ellis Agritech machines. No more manual harvesting. We'll start with the pathfinding circuit in the drone. It takes data from the environment and finds the most efficient path to take. We've sent you a new module, the signal delay. That would have been really useful earlier. Use it to add a time delay to a signal. You'll need a time delay to do numerical comparisons in this circuit. That would have been really useful earlier. For each time step, compare the current signal value at source 1 with the previous 2 values. Oh no. Send the highest value of the 3 to out 1. If there's no previous value, assume the previous value is 0 volts. To be fair, that is really common in these types of games. They make you make like a min or a max circuit and then go, oh, here's a component that is what you just made. It's kind of a common structure. Right, what have we got now? Ah, thank goodness, we've got all our toys back. We have our max modules, our min modules, our sum, splits, biases, attenuators, ors, ands and knots, sample and holds, VCAs, and our new one, signal delay. That's a pretty little module. So let's see if I put this signal in. Oh, that's interesting. I don't have my clock anymore. They've got rid of my clock. Let's say I put the delay up to 4 and put that out and then press play. It's 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay, so it does time slip it. Okay, for each time step, compare the current value at signal 1 with the previous 2 values. Okay, I think there's a dumb easy way to do this. So we are going to, after that last debacle, do the dumb easy way to do this. If nothing else, to make myself feel better. Oh, that does make me feel better. I'm not as dumb as I felt in the last one. So, to explain what we're doing here, and again, probably more optimal ways of doing this that we're ignoring. So what we're doing here is each of these will delay the signal. This will delay it by 1 step. This will delay it by 2 steps. So the other way to think about that is this will give you the value from 1 step ago. This will give you the value from 2 steps ago. So we're then just doing this three-way max comparison using 2 maxes. So here we're comparing the value from 1 step ago to 2 steps ago, and then comparing whichever is the maximum value of that one against our current value, which allows us to basically take the maximum of the last 3 steps. Oh, it's been so long since we've seen this screen. It feels nice. How bad was our solution comparatively? Not that bad. Hooray. Excellent work. Thank you. Your optional puzzles are so much more difficult. Take a look at your farm now. Look at the progress you've made. Looks out of window. Oh, they've updated it. That's nice. We've got, our farm's looking less dilapidated, and we've got barn lights on and, crops and stuff. Now that you've mentioned it, it's changed a lot. And it will continue changing. Things decay, we build them up again. I think we'll try and do one more, and then I'm going to call it there for today. So let's do this drone processor one. Alright, time to continue work on the harvester drones. Their main processor board is still fried. What do I have to do? To start with the accumulator circuit, it's necessary for you to do arithmetic computations. Careful though, it's a tricky circuit to fix. Any tips? You're going to have to construct a feedback loop here. Use the signal delay module. Oh, this might help us with the previous one. The signal delay takes an input and outputs it 1 time step later. Consider what if you sent that output back into the input. Wouldn't that just create an infinite loop? What if you change the signal within the loop? Yeah, this does seem to be giving hints about that previous one. Build an accumulator that counts starting from 0 volts and increases by 1 volt for each time step and send it to out 1. That's not too bad, he says. So we don't have an input, so yeah, if we take a something and we take a bias which just lets us input a single value, we can input a single value into our sum. Take that output into the we can take the output into there to split this output over here. So currently all we're doing is we're just feeding 1 into the signal delay. But then if we take the output from here and feed it back into there, we'll be summing whatever comes out of here plus 1 back in over there. So before I explain the solution, yeah, cool. So we pass in 1 and then we output 1. Then what happens is, or technically, we pass in 1 and we output 0 because it's delayed by 1 step. The next step what happens is this outputs 1, it goes to our output, but that 1 also gets fed back into here, added back to this one in the bias, so we input 2. So the next step we're outputting 2, it feeds it back in, gets added to 1, etc, etc. I see that face greeting, Scar. I see what that might mean for our previous level, even though I still can't figure it out. Signal delay would be really helpful for that level. Yeah, we don't have the best of scores because I didn't fiddle about with our things. Also, somebody did it with only 3 modules. How do you do that with only 3 modules? Do you do that with only 3 modules? Huh. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. No, I was rushing because I'm like, I know what I'm doing for once. I really don't see how you do that with 1 fewer modules, though. Anyway, it works. I am happy. We have an accumulator. Feedback loops like this are quite important for a lot of complex circuits. No doubt you'll be seeing more of them. Well, I hope not. That is exactly what I wanted to say in real life, to be fair. Don't take it like that. You're learning new things. All right. Thanks, Miriam. That was quite quick. Do we have one more drone one? No, we've done the drones, so in which case I will probably pause there. So yeah, this has been the signal state. I've really enjoyed it. The optional puzzles are proper tricky, but I guess that's why they're optional. And the core path puzzles seem to be pretty good. Hint system, yeah. But hint systems are, to be fair, really difficult to do. I know that as well as potentially anyone. But yeah, this has I really like the idea of this, where you're playing with the different signals and stuff. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I love the fact that we have this final bit down here with the sandbox now, where they've added in some more stuff, and they've just gone like yeah, it's a full-on modular synthy thing. Like, this is, the LED matrix is a bit ridiculous as well. But yeah, I like how you can have all these additional things, these different things. You've even got the classic like attack and release stuff. So attack is how quickly the note starts. Release is how quickly it goes away. So if we turn that down, you get like plucky noises. It's always fun. They've even got filters and stuff over here. They've done a lot of effort into this bit. Ah, you need to talk to the creator of IFO. Clearly, Joe plays puzzle games, because LFO was excellent for that, and I wish it was longer. Yeah, there is a nice little alter, like things to alter here, and I like they've got drum voices. Reversed switch, sample and hold sampler. Man, there is a lot of modules here. A lot. Oh, they've even got faders. A lot of modules here that we didn't get to. Quantizer. Oh yeah, so this is a real module, right? That I said I was gonna quit, but let's just try one thing, because these quantizers These are literally designed for modular synth things, where basically you have quantized values coming out, and then if we find out where the synth voice is, oh now, why have I built this up like I know what I'm doing? Because I absolutely don't. Put a trigger into that and specify the musical scale to quantize 2 by toggling specific keys on and off. Oh, that doesn't do what I thought it did. That literally is saying, like, if I put in different values, so if I grab a CV sequencer here, feed that into there, and then start playing with this. Oh my goodness, you also need a clock in. I regret this, and this is also why I've not bought any modular synth gear. Because it terrifies me. But yeah, this is how you kind of start to build stuff up, right? We can do that type of scale if you want. Joe's the musician here, so we should really be asking him. Yeah, so it's actually it's converting our voltages here to the scale, and then it's quantizing it over here, which is quite nice. Hey Joe, how do we do like a more complicated scale? Because I can never remember them. If you tell me what the blue scale is, I will happily type it in. C, D, E flat. Oh, you're being awkward and using flats. F, F sharp, G, B flat. Making me convert it. Sorry, so that's C, D. So hang on, that's C, D, D sharp, F, F sharp, G, B flat. So there's the right one, right? I mean, but we've got technically a tune going. So if I went and got my drum samplers, my drum voice, we could do what I was talking about earlier, where we have the syncopated beat that I always like. I need 2 more clocks. Three clock. We have a 4 clock. No, the clocks can still only go up to 5, it seems. Oh, I'm finding this weirdly compelling already. Some reverb on it. Set up a bit. There we go. Then we have a little drum beat going. I saw there was so that's where if you want to do it more specific. I saw there was a multi-clock one. Oh wow. So that's literally if you want to really go into, you can do halves, thirds, quarters, fifths. My goodness. And then we'll feed it all through an LFO. There was one other thing I was looking for. Yeah, the chord voice. Oh, send a CV signal to specify the root of the chord to be played and the actual chord to be played. Hey look, we can actually do sus4, one of my favourite creepy sounding chords. Oh my goodness. This has... a lot of depth in it. Can I copy this one down here? Copy this one down here. Set that one to 2. Pop that one into there. Then... last thing you want to do is have like... a bit of... you know, some chords going in. Yes, discordancy. Got effectively a bandpass filter here. It is, let's call it a banger, entirely inappropriately. Oh, too much reverb. Anyway, I'm going to stop there, because otherwise I'm just going to faff about with this for way too long, especially when I saw the fact we've got like a step sequencer. Oh, hey look, you can use this, like, a MIDI keyboard as well to actually like send signals. Oh my goodness. Yes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today. It was nice to get back to this finally. And it's also quite nice to be able to you know, just play about with some of this stuff at the end as well. It's nice to see that it has... basically realized, yeah, it's a modular synth, innit? So let's like just do modular synth stuff with it. I think that's really cool. I like the whole kind of rack setup of it. I think the puzzles are interesting. So yeah, if you want to try this, it's currently on sale. I think it's on 50% off on Steam at the moment. I've already got £7 worth of enjoyment out of it from the puzzles I've played. I will probably keep playing it a little more. I might hold off on the side puzzles and just do the main required puzzles, because the side puzzles were making my brain hurt a little too much for today. But yeah, thank you for joining Joe and Scott and Mike earlier, and greetings, Scar. It was nice to have some people to play along with, quite literally in this case. And hopefully see you again soon. I think Joe and I will be doing another bonus buddy stream, not this week, but the week afterwards as well. And I will need to go figure out what else to do, because I'm also going to get back to some development streams as well soonish, hopefully. But yeah, thanks very much for coming along. This was the Signal stream on Sleepy Sunday Stream, and I will see you again soon, hopefully. Bye all.